Hey BookTube, it's Jackie. How's it going? If you are new to me, it's the first time you're seeing my face. Hello, what's up? My name's Jackie. I sit on my floor and I talk about books. So that's why you're here, because that's what's going to be happening today. If you are not new to me, thank you for always doing the continued support. I really do appreciate it. So today for you, I have my September wrap up. This is the time of the month where I get to review everything that I've read and be reminded of everything that I didn't read. And we got quite a bit to talk about today. So without further ado, grab yourself a drink, have yourself a seat. Let's get talking some books. All right, let's just get the nitty gritty out of the way. The books I did not complete for my September TBR, which I will link down the down box below. Ruthless Gods by Emily Duncan, second installment to the Something Dark and Something Holy series. I read the first one, Wicked Saints, a little while ago. Wasn't the biggest fan of it, but I liked it enough to want to continue the series. So I hope to pick this up soon. But I just don't know when I'm going to get to it, and I didn't have time to get to it this month. The one I am most upset about not getting to is Valor by John Gwynne. This is the second installment to The Faithful and Fallen, and I'd really like to read this entirety of the series before the end of the year, so hopefully I will be able to pick it up soon, but holidays are coming up, so I don't know how well that's going to work out for me. I also did not complete Lola and the Millionaire. It looks like this. This is my Smut Club book of the month. However, the live show did get pushed back to this coming week, so I still be able to have enough time to read this and be part of that live show. So I'm really excited that I still get to be part of it, even though I didn't get it completed. And I did start The Grey Bastards. I just did not have finished it yet, but I have started it. So yay, go me. Now, what I did complete was this. Yeah, there's a lot of them. Again. As you can see, all the books here are timestamped. So if there's a book here that resonates with you or something you look interested in, you can go to the down box below. Everything will be hyperlinked to their timestamp, or you can sit with me through the entire show and learn about all the books I read this month. Now, however, I will not be going into great detail on all these books because I do go into great detail on my weekly wrap-ups. If you are not familiar with my weekly wrap-up series, I post a video every Sunday of every book that I've read the previous week, and I go into great detail, likes, dislikes, what worked, what didn't work, all that jazz. The playlist for my weekly wrap-ups will be linked up here in a little card, so you can go check that out if you want further in-depth review on any of these books. But for today, it's just going to be a quick synopsis, a little bit of notes, just to kind of keep the show going. But I like to talk, so it's probably going to be a long time anyway. So grab a chair, make sure you have that drink and a refill. But let's get started. So my stats for the month are as follows. I completed 13 books, 7 physical, 5 audio, and 1 ebook. I am now starting to separate my ebooks out just for my own personal stats. Total pages, this includes my ebook, 2,604 pages. And my listening time for my audiobooks was 27 hours and 22 minutes. And my average rating for the month was 3.73. So a little bit higher rating than the previous month, but I read less books this month. So that's how it works. But now let's get into the books. So these are in no particular order. The first book I have here is Under the Lights by Abbi Glines. I gave this 3 stars. This is the second installment in the Field Party series. It features a love triangle, and it has triggers for death of a child, suicide of a child, and drug and alcohol use of minors. In this book, we follow Willa, Gunnar, and Brady. That's our little triangle. Gunnar and Brady we met in the previous installment of the Field Party series, which was Until Friday Night. And Willa had a very brief cameo, but not enough to actually know her as a character. But in this book, we get to really know all 3 of them. Willa and Brady and Gunnar were childhood friends, but Willa moved away when she was 11. And when she came back in high school, she didn't come back as the same girl. She moved to go live with her biological mother, and she was more just an accessory to the perfect family rather than an actual member of that family. So she came across some hard times, fell into some pretty bad habits, and got into trouble and had to do some time in the juvenile detention center. When she was released, her mother kicked her out and sent her back to live with her grandmother. And that's where Willa and Gunnar and Brady all hook back up together. Willa's grandmother is the Lawton housekeeper. The Lawton is the family name of Gunnar. Gunnar is that boy. He is the wealthy kid on the block. He's a son of one of the founding families. Really popular, really wealthy, but he doesn't have the best home life. He's kind of the forgotten son. And Brady is your all-around American boy. He's perfect, he's handsome, he's sweet, and he's a nice guy. And he falls for Willa. Willa fell for him when he was younger, and Gunnar falls for Willa. So we have this nice triangle, and Gunnar and Brady are obviously best friends. So this book is set up for a really nice love triangle going on, except this book does a whole 180 and gives you a whole second book in the latter part of the book, and we get a twist out of nowhere, and then some more twists and some more twists and some more twists, and you find out this love triangle is completely useless. It doesn't really matter because this book is all about Gunnar and his fucked up Jerry Springer family. Okay, that's what this book about. This book is about Gunnar. Willa and Braid are there. This is Gunnar's story, and it is crazy as all get out. This is one family reunion I never want to fucking go to. So what worked in this book? The love triangle that was created, it was believable, it was plausible. It worked really well for the portion of the book it actually mattered in. Brady, his character arc from the first book to this one still held true. He's still that nice guy, and I'm really hoping he gets his happy ending eventually. I really like him too. And then Gunnar's twists. These twists just keep coming. They just keep coming and coming and coming and coming and coming. You're like, the fuck is going on? You did what with who, and how am I related to you now? The fuck? Like, you need a family tree for the second part of this book. It's insane. It's insane. But it definitely kept me engaged. Now, however, what didn't work is that love triangle that I wanted for the story, that I thought was the whole purpose of the story. This second half, it becomes completely obsolete. So there was really no point in that first half of the book even building it. It was pretty much null and void at that point. Spice rating for this book, this is not spicy at all. We have a puff. We have some few passionate kisses and maybe a little like grab ass, but that's pretty much it. It is not even like steam. There's nothing. This is a drama. So definitely different from its first installment of the series. I would not believe that these two books belong in the same series if you didn't tell me that. Yeah, very, very different, but I still am planning on continuing with the series because I had a really good time with this series, and I really, really enjoy it so far, and I like what Abbi Glines does. I like how she writes. The next book I have is Playing for Keeps by Liz Mattis, and it looks like this. This is the first installment in a fantasy football series. It was an audiobook that I listened to, and it was done by Christine Padavon. It's a football romance with a workplace romance trope. We follow Samantha and Ryan. Samantha is a field journalist turned sports reporter after receiving some trauma in Iraq. And Ryan is a member of the pro football team that Samantha's reporting for. He's the star running back? I want to say he's the running back. Maybe the quarterback. I can't remember which one he is. But he was also Samantha's college crush. So we have this kind of full circle thing going around here. And after a chance encounter and in an elevator that gets stuck, our romance really starts to flourish. But it's a hidden romance because it is in the workplace. So you have that kind of element of secrecy going on, which makes for some fun experiences in this book. Now, I only gave this book a 2.5 star because of what didn't work in it. I listened to this on audio. I was not a fan of the audiobook. I do not think this narrator was a good fit for this book. This book is also written from one POV, the females. So we don't have a dual perspective, and I believe it should have been a dual perspective. I think it would have benefited from a male narrator with her, because as the female, she did fine. It was the male part that was really cringy. It was really weird, and I didn't like it. I didn't enjoy it at all. So the audiobook really definitely helped bring that score down. So I feel like if I would have read this book physically, I might have enjoyed it a little bit more. But what worked in this book was the original storyline. Journalist hooks up a football player, former crush, full circle story. That was great. I love that element. I think that was fantastic. The friends in this book, loved them. They were pushy. They were trying to push these two together the entirety of the book, and I love that. I think that a little matchmaking element, I think it was really cute. And you also had the family members that were doing it too. Like Samantha's mom was in on it, and I thought that was kind of adorable. This book's saving grace was really one huge, unique sex scene that I've never seen, and I will never look at an inner thigh machine the exact same way. Oh my God, that thing was hot as fuck. I loved it. That thing was great. I was like, yes, yeah. Oral sex, inner thigh machine. That's all I'm saying. You use your own imagination. However, the element that really didn't work in this book, besides the audiobook, fuck that scene. Because they reused some really cringy dialogue. There is some really good dirty talk in this book. Liz Mattis gave us some really good dirty talk. I was like, yes, yeah, that's my girl. There you go. And then she gave me cringy lines like, he went down to her clitoral area and, can you say my name when you come? Did you seriously just ask this bitch if she could say your name when she comes? Did you really ask that? The fuck, man? No, you don't ask that shit. You just expect it. Okay? Like, really? No. You just ruined a really kick-ass fucking scene with that cringy shit. And I just was not playing it. It did not fit for Ryan's character. It didn't work. And it really cringe. It was not a fun time. However, this did get a 3 chili peppers on the spice scale because of the interesting locations that we saw them have sex in. And even though there were some cringy areas, the other graphic language was really well placed. It was well done. So I did give this a 3 on the spice scale for that one. But only a 2.5 in the ratings, in the stars. The next book I have to talk about is The Dark Crystal by Jim Henson. This is the novelization of the 1982 Dark Crystal film. This was my Buzzword Challenge Book of the Month. I had to read a book with the word dark or light in it. I chose this one. Now, this book is the novelization. This is not the actual Dark Crystal book. There is a Dark Crystal book. That is not this. This is literally taking the screenplay of the 1982 film Dark Crystal and putting it in novel format and then putting it in a book. That's what this is. And if I would have known that going in, if I would have figured that out going in, I probably would have enjoyed this book a hell of a lot more. I only gave this a 3-star because this is better as a movie. I highly recommend watching The Dark Crystal. It's one of my favorite films. I love that movie. I'm a diehard Dark Crystal fan. I was not a diehard Dark Crystal fan to read the screenplay in novel form. That was not a good time. But if you are not familiar with The Dark Crystal follows Jen and Kira. They are both gelfling. They're like these little mini elves with these big eyes, and they're really super cute. And they are on a mission to find a crystal shard to, a crystal shard from the Dark Crystal to make it whole, allowing the conjunction to happen. And what the conjunction is, I can't tell you because it's kind of the big story. When the conjunction happens, the prophecy is fulfilled. So the Skeksis, which are these nasty little fucking guys right here, but they're like my favorite villains of all time. They have a prophecy that the Gelfling will unite the shard, make it one, and the Skeksis rule will be over. So they have tried to annihilate the Gelfling, but they missed Jen and Kira. And so Jen and Kira are sent, the chosen ones, to find the shard, make the crystal whole again, and allow the conjunction to happen, allow getting rid of Skeksis' rules. So we do have a chosen one trope, and it is exactly like the normal chosen one trope. They are raised with no idea what the hell they're doing, and then all of a sudden, when the one person that can tell them what to do is about to die, that's when he relinquishes all this information, like, oh, by the way, you have to go do this now. You've never been raised to know a damn thing about it, though. Yeah. This was better as a movie. I highly recommend watching this as a movie. I enjoy owning this for my collection, but I will probably never reread this again. I might, however, go pick up the actual Dark Crystal book, but I'm still going to be a fan of the movie. All right, the next book I have is Going For It by Liz Mattis, and it looks like this. This is the second installment to the fantasy football series. It is also another audiobook by Christine Padavon and a football romance. And you're probably thinking, Jackie, if you didn't like the first one, why would you read the second one and listen to the second one? Well, let me tell you why. When I got these books, I got them in a quartet. There are 4 in this series, and I got all 4 of them in a little box credit thing on my Audible. And they're all done by the same narrator, so I'm kind of stuck with them. So I going to give this narrator another shot because, you know, maybe it just was that book. I will admit in this book, she did a better job. Her voice for the character of Hannah, because this follows Hannah and Jake, 2 characters that we meet in the previous installment. They're the pushy friends that I really, really fucking liked. This is their story. Yeah. So I had a better time with this book. Her voice lent to Hannah a lot better than I think she did for Samantha. So she did do a better job with Hannah, but this book still suffers the fact that I think it should have had a male narrator as well, because the big hang-up, the big deal for how their relationship started in the first book was that Hannah loved Jake's voice. She thought he was sexy as fuck with his voice. Now, mind you, Jake is on the football team with Ryan, and Hannah is a supermodel, so she can get who the fuck she wants. He can get who the fuck she wants. But she wants this guy who has this sultry, sexual voice. And the voice that the narrator gave him did not sound like that. It sounded bad. It was not fun. So, again, I feel like if I would have physically read this book, I probably would have enjoyed it more. However, there was some things that worked in this book. Jake's character. I fucking love Jake. Jake's a good time. Jake's a good guy. I like him. He's funny. I loved his dominance. I love the fact that he didn't take Hannah's shit. He called her on her shit. But at the same time, when she had issues, he let her take care of them, but he just let her know that, hey, I'm here if you need me. I really liked his whole character in general. So he was a saving grace for me in this book. What didn't work? Audiobook again. And also we had that same cringy dirty talk, except this one didn't have as good as dirty talk as the other one. This one just had a lot of cringy dirty talk. And it was something that bothers me about sex scenes is when a female is compared to food, like her taste, her essence, her vagina is described as food. That pisses me off. It's like, I know damn well this shit does not taste like that, okay? I know. And he compared her to cotton candy and says she looks like it. She's wearing this nice pink cotton candy looking dress. He's like, wow, you look like cotton candy. And then he exposes her vagina and says, and you taste like it too. And I'm like, and fucking Lady Boner killed. Damn it. You set up a fucking kick-ass scene again and you gave me some cringy ass shit like that. And then you have him say, when you come, say my name like it's a prayer. Who the fuck do you think? Do you think you're Father Tyler Bell? No. That's Father Tyler Bell's thing. You stay the fuck away from him. No. Did not approve of that at all. That was bad. I didn't like it. However, we get a lot of sex scenes in this book. A lot of them. Because Hannah and Jake's whole relationship is based off of sex. Like, they were just original booty calls. Originally. So, a lot of sex in this book. But we didn't have as much dirty talk as we had in the first book with them. So I did give this a 3 chili peppers on the spice rating because of the graphic language, even though we had some cringy areas and all the smut scenes. So it did get a 3 on it. And that mirror scene, the setup for it, oh, that was sweet. Like, both books have these great build up to these sex scenes, and then it gets fucking killed with some shitty ass language. And I'm like, so if you can get past that, the sex scenes are really good. The actual graphic description of the sex scenes and how they're fan-fucking-tastic. I mean, they're, hello, I need some load time with that. Thank you. It's the dirty talk that just kind of throws it and ruins it for you. Sorry. All right. And if I didn't say, I gave that a 2.5 stars as well. The next book I have here is Abbi Glines' Existence. It looks like this. I was not going to start another Abbi Glines series until I finished the Field Party series, but this was a freebie on my Audible, and I was kind of feeling a paranormal romance, which this is. This is the first installment to the Existence trilogy. It's paranormal romance, and we feature a love triangle with a suicide and mental illness trigger. We follow Pagan Moore, who is a girl who can see dead people, but they never talk to her until this one soul starts to talk to her. This one soul happens to be Death. You as the reader know this is Death. It's on the back of the cover of the book. Okay? You know it's Death. She doesn't. She just calls him Dank. That's the character name that he's given. But you know he's Death, and he's talking to her. Well, Death only comes for her because she is to die. He falls in love with her, so he saves her, setting off a chain reaction, kind of Final Destination sort of thing. So her life is constantly in peril because she's not supposed to be here anymore. Death broke the rules. He was supposed to take her, and he didn't. He saved her because he loved her. So we have this back and forth of all these different moments where she doesn't actively try to commit suicide, but because all these entities are coming to take her because she is supposed to be dead and Death isn't doing his job, what looks to the outside world looks like she's trying to commit suicide. But to her, she's being murdered by these entities. So I want to make that clear that we don't actually see suicide, but to the outside world, it's suicide. To her, it looks like she's being murdered. and Death comes to save her multiple times. But here's my thing with this book. The original plot worked great. You know, girl falls in love with Death, Death falls in love with her. Original concept, awesome. I loved it. Abbi Glines' description of the temperature, how she really conveys this, do I belong here or do I not belong here element? Because Pagan knows something's off. After her accident, she knows something's weird. She doesn't feel like she belongs anymore, but she also doesn't understand why. And then you have this fucking twist that comes out of fucking left field. And you're like, what? Huh? Because she starts to see this boy named Leif. And so we have a little love triangle. Leif, Dank, and Pagan. But there's something off about Leif. And you don't really understand what it is. But there's something off about him. And then we get this twist. You're like, huh? What? And the twist is like the last line of the book. So what didn't work in this was the twist. Because it comes so late. It's such a big twist that you're kind of like, no, you gave me this in the last line of the book just to like hook me. No, I'm not continuing the series. I'm not going to deal with this. But at the same time, for me, that fucking hooked me to want to read the second book because the original meat of the book just wasn't strong enough until I had that twist. And I'm like, that's it. That's why I'm continuing all this series now. Dang it. Another thing that didn't work in this book was the insta-love on behalf of Death to Pagan. You see why Pagan falls in love with Death. You clearly see it in the book, but you don't understand how Death does because there's not a lot of scenes with them together before the accident. So you don't really understand how it's very insta. It's just very insta, and you don't really understand, like, really? Out of all the people in the world, you see this girl, and you won't really even talk to her that much about anything. Okay, but you fell in love with her. And you've been around since the beginning of time. Okay. So that didn't really work too well for me. And then the last part that didn't work for me in this book is because as a reader, you know Dank is Death. Pagan doesn't figure it out for a really goddamn long time. So she's constantly questioning, I don't understand. Why can't you tell me? And he says, it's not your time to know. I can't tell you. It's against the rules. It's also against the rules for you to fucking save her, but you broke that one. So it's really annoying that she's asking all these questions and we know the fucking answer. As the reader, we know the answer. So she just looks like an idiot and repetitive. And it's just, it's maddening. But it does lend to what goes on in her mental state. This constant confusion of, do I belong? Do I not belong? I feel warm and safe and sane and stable and solid when I'm with Leif, but I feel the same thing with Dank, who is a soul, and I'm not supposed to feel that way. I don't understand what's going on. So that level of confusion is clearly displayed through that, but it just gets kind of repetitive and annoying because you as a reader already know, and it's annoying. But I still thoroughly enjoy this, and I give it 4 stars, so. 1 chili pepper on the spice rating. Not super steamy. We get a few heavy petting sessions and some kissy kisses, but it alludes to the P and the V, but we don't ever see it, so, yeah. The next book I have to talk about was my first 5-star read of the month, and that is Lifeblood by Amara Rae. This bad boy. Oh my God. Yes. 5 stars, baby. This is the first installment in the Immortal Coven series. Paranormal romance, fated mates, enemies to lovers, and a whole shit ton of triggers. Blood play, violence, graphic sexual situations and language, psychological and physical torture, sexual assault, not from the hero, and dominant and possessive language. Oh yeah, there's a whole list. There's so many triggers in this that Amara Rae actually gave us a trigger warning page in the book. This is the first book I've ever read that actually has a trigger warning page. Yeah, but this thing was fucking amazing. This was recommended to me by Jen over the Book Refuge. I will link her down below. She's awesome. If you've been following me at all, you know I love her. She's a rock star, and this is why. She picks amazing books. This thing is fucking stellar. So we follow Colette and Mackay. Colette is a hybrid life witch, which means she was born of a witch mother and a warlock father. And every member of her coven is some form of hybrid. Mackay is a hybrid warlock, And warlocks, when they're born, when they become of age, they have to go seek their not coven. They don't call them covens, what do they call them? Clans. They have to go find their clan that they fit into. But a witch, she just is born into the coven. So Makai is kind of trying out the clan that he is currently with when he meets up with Colette. And Colette is actually kidnapped in a battle, but it's on purpose. She was set up. Their whole coven was set up to collect Colette. Give me a second, I'll get it out eventually. And Makai is put in charge of trying to get the information that they need from Colette. Because Makai, he's not a nice man. He's not a very sane person either. Well, actually, he is sane. His position and his enjoyment could be construed as someone who is a little crazy. Because he is a torturer by trade and he's a sadist by choice. And he is the one that's in charge of getting Colette to talk. So Colette is left to his devices. And in one of their training sessions, blood is transferred. And this is where we find out that they are actually fated mates. And this is where this crazy, hot, sexy, bloody, magic-infused, crazy-ass, mind-blowing, panty-dripping, fucking sexy book starts off. Holy shit, I cannot talk about how hot this book is. Oh my god. This is not a panty moistener. This is a panty soaker. You will take your panties up and wring them off because you will be dripping wet. It is so fucking steamy. Makai's character, I fucking love him. I love him. I love him. I love him. I love him. His arc is awesome. He starts off as an arrogant douchebag who doesn't give a shit about anybody. And then at the end, he's still an arrogant douchebag, but he gives a shit about Colette. And he is that you touch her, you die kind of hero, but he's not. But at the same time, he's not. He's only like that when people actually threaten her. He understands that she has her own gifts. And he lets her fight, lets her handle her own. And I'm just, oh my god, I fucking love him. I love him. He's a new fave of mine. I love him. The world building in this book is spot on. Amara Rae creates this awesome fucking world. We're not just dealing with witches and warlocks. We've got demons, we've got angels, we've got shifters, we got berserkers. Yeah, berserkers. We've got all types of paranormal creatures and beings in this book. And she creates this world and they don't all get along great. Let's just be honest. They don't get along great, but they're all cohesive and they have vampires. We have vampires in there too. Forgot about them. But they're all in here. And so I'm just, I love the world that she's created. I love it. She has a found family for Colette. The coven that she's in is just ecstatic. The way these girls respond to each other, the way they understand each other, the way they support each other is fantastic. In the beginning, it's one way. And as the end, as Colette's arc develops and she becomes stronger, it just grows and grows and grows. It's just, it's fucking beautiful. Fucking beautiful. And what I really, really liked about this book is what I find when people have fated mates, a lot of authors will tend to just fall onto the fated mate thing. It's like, they're fated mates, so they're just naturally going to be in love. No. Amara Rae doesn't do that. Yes, she acknowledges there's a fated mate, that they are meant to be together. And in protection levels, that's where it's like really hardcore. It's like, that's my mate. I have to protect her. Don't fucking touch her. But the love aspect, the relationship aspect, the intimacy aspect, the sex, that is not assumed. It is earned. Makai, for being as violent, as cruel, as sadistic as he fucking is, he earns Colette. And Colette earns him. And it's fucking awesome. That trust between them, you see build. You see the love develop between them. And it's so fucking hot. Oh my god. Like, normally I would say it's very touching, it's emotional. No, it is straight up hot and sexy, and I fucking loved it. Oh my god, I cannot tell you how sexy this fucking book was. It was fan-fucking-tastic. Fantastic. However, there were a few things that didn't work, but these didn't work for me. I got kind of lost when they were talking about the histories, like who's related to who and how things are interlinked. I got kind of lost. So I had to go back and reread that just a few times to make sure I understood. But that could just be me. I'm not used to dealing with that in romance books. So that might just be a me thing. But something I do want to point out, I didn't have a problem with this, but I know some people who aren't really big fans of alpha holes might have an issue with this. I would not consider Makai an alpha hole, but he does speak in kind of a, I don't want to say derogatory because it's not, but a very interesting way. He never really uses Colette's name. I think he might use it like 2 or 3 times in the book. Other than that, he refers to her as witch, which in the beginning is kind of an insult, and then it turns into like a pet name. And then he also refers to it as female. Like, he will come to her and says, does my female want me? Your male needs to satisfy you. Like, there's this third person thing without names. And it's kind of weird. And but the way he does it is really sexy. I found it really sexy when he did it. But I could see some people be like, you can use her fucking name. Like, I could see some people saying it's a little derogatory, so I just want to make that aware to people. But I personally did not have a problem with that. I thought it was fucking great. For the sex rating, the spice rating, I give a 4.5 on the chili pepper scale. 4.5 chili peppers. Oh yeah, this thing was super, super fucking hot. But if you cannot handle blood play, if that makes you squeamish, if that doesn't turn you on, if that's not something that you're into, this book is a lot of blood play because their magic is a blood rune magic that Makai uses. So there's a lot of blood action, a lot of blood transference happening in this book. So just be warned about that. And we do see some anal and some BDSM practices, which is always a good time. And there's one scene. I'm a huge fan of when romance authors do this. They have I've never seen a female do it. I've never had a book where a female does it, so I don't know how I feel if a female do it. But when the male tells the female, the hero tells the heroine what he's going to do to her, or tells her to repeat to him what he's doing to her, I find that extremely exciting, and I find that very enticing, and I like it a lot. And Makai does it, and he does it while he is pleasuring her with his hand. So that scene has officially gone on the FTD bank, fingers, tongue, and dick bank. That is right there. That's a rent-free living scene in my head right now. There you go. Love it, love it, love it, love it, love it. That was such a fucking hot scene. I needed a shower after that one. Yeah, I did. Not even gonna lie about it. The next book I have to talk about is this guy. This is the Ex Hex by Erin Sterling, and I gave this book 4 stars. This book is the first installment to the Ex Hex series, and it is a second chance romance with a forced proximity trope. We follow Reese and Vivian, who had a 3-month summer fling romance. Very sweet, very innocent, little, fooling around, great sex. But after 3 months, Reese told Vivian that he needed to go back home to Wales, where he is from, to end his betrothal. And Vivian loses her shit. Before the actual explanation comes out, and to explain that, hey, I didn't ask to be married, my father arranged this, I want out of it because I care about you, she storms out after calling him a few choice names, even some made up ones, and goes to her cousin's house, where she proceeds to do the spurned ex-girlfriend depressed thing. She takes a bath, drinks a couple vodka martinis, and oh, by the way, she's a witch, and she decides to curse his ass. And they thought it was a joke because they're cursing some stupid shit. Like, let him never find the clitoris. Like, that's kind of rude, though. Like, why would you curse a guy to never find the clitoris? Like, you're fucking every other girl over he's ever with. Don't do that. No, that's bad. But, like, silly things like that. Nothing super serious, except at the very end, they don't realize how strong their magic is, and the curse sticks. 9 years go by, and Reese Penhallow has to come back because the Penhallows are the founder of the town that Vivian lives in. And every year they have to reinfuse their magic into the ley lines, which leads the magic into the city. So it's Reese's turn. He comes back, and the first day he's in town, that curse latches on and sticks like a vengeance. He almost dies twice. But the interesting thing about this curse is that it's all comic. This is a rom-com. It's not meant to be super serious, but it's got some serious topics in it. And the juxtaposition of it was done really, really well. Erin Sterling did a really good job with it. What worked in it, her romantic banter between Rhys and Vivian, thought it was fantastic. Especially when Rhys found out that Vivian cursed him. And he's just like, you cursed me? Really? I didn't even get to explain. You stormed off. Like, he's in shock about it. But instead of getting pissed off about it, he thinks it's a joke. And now they're forced to work together to lift the curse. And so it allows for more of this romantic banter to happen in these instances of trying to figure out how to break this curse. There's a lot of comedic moments in this book. A lot of funny times. And there's an animal companion, which who doesn't love an animal companion? It's probably my favorite part of the book. I loved him. He was my favorite. Loved him. However, what did not work? Yes, Rhys was really laid back. He didn't take this curse seriously, even when you find out actually how serious this curse actually is. In the beginning, you think it's just like, okay, they were silly stuff, it's nothing serious, but then you find out that, oh shit, something actually seriously happened. Oh snap, oh crap. Like, we just made this 10 times worse. Fuck. It's one of those. And he's still just like, all right, we'll fix it. Dude, you could die. Like, you could die. And you're just like, we'll fix it. It's fine. I don't mind humor, but when it's being used as a defense mechanism, as like a mask, after a while, that starts to get on my nerves because I kind of want to just take you and go like, open your eyes. This is serious. You can't fucking joke about this shit. I understand that people use humor as like defense mechanisms and masks, but it just, in books, when it's clearly using as like deflecting and stuff like that, it gets kind of irritating after a while. In the beginning, it's fine, but at some point he needs to start getting serious. And he didn't get serious fast enough for me. And the last thing I want to bring up about this book is, okay, I give this book a 4-star. I remember reading this book. I remember having a good time with this book. But when I went to talk about this book in my weekly wrap-up, I honestly didn't remember anything about this book other than reading it. It wasn't until I read my notes that it all came flooding back. So that tells me that this book did not have that zing, that thing that really sticks in my head. It didn't have the staying power for me. So I want to make that aware to you if you guys are readers like me at all, and you need something to like a staying power. This one didn't have it for me. Now, after talking about it so much in my weekly wrap-up and in some recommendations, and today going over my notes, it's starting to stick with me. So it's starting to hold with me, but I had to review it a bunch of times. It just didn't naturally stay. So I want to make that aware. Spice rating, I gave this a 2 chili peppers. There was some really nice foreplay scenes, and the one graphic scene was, whoo, that was nice. I remember really liking that scene a lot. Yeah, that was pretty sweet. But the flirtation is really what set this book off for me for the sexy fun times, because I love the flirtation between them. It was sweet, it was funny, it was cute, but yet it was a lot of innuendos, but it weren't like like gross innuendos. They were like, okay, yeah, I got you. I like innuendos. So they did a good job with it, or Erin did a good job with it. The next book I had to talk about is Not by the Playbook by Ivy Hunt, and it looks like this. I read this on my Kindle, and this is the first installment in the Wrong Time, Right Place series. This is a fake dating romance with a football, it's a fake dating trope with a football romance. This follows Logan and Rebecca. Rebecca is up for a really amazing job in her field, and she thinks she has nailed this interview. So she goes out to celebrate. And when she celebrates, she runs into Logan, who is a professional football player, quarterback, Super Bowl champion, all around gorgeous and perfect. So what does she do? They have a hookup and a one-night stand. And she has to do the walk of shame the next day, except the walk of shame happens to be walking into his kitchen, where she runs into his sister. His sister happens to be the woman she just interviewed with the previous day. So she has one of two options. She can own up to the fact that she had a one-night stand, take the humiliation, and walk off, or she does what she does. She runs into Logan as he's coming out of the bedroom, wraps her arms around him, and basically pleads with her eyes, please agree that you're dating me because I totally just told your sister that we're boyfriend and girlfriend. And he's like, I'm half awake. What the fuck's going on? But he happens to look at his sister, who is giving him this look of like, really? You expect me to believe this? His sister doesn't have the best opinion of him. So he decides to stick it to his sister and agree with Rebecca. And he puts his arms around Rebecca and says, it's new. It's still pretty new. We're keeping it on the down low. And he is in 100 fucking % after that moment. And it is great. I had such a good time with this, mostly because the chemistry between Logan and Rebecca, it was fantastic. It was easy. It was smooth. It didn't seem forced, even though Logan was putting her in the most uncomfortable situations ever, because when Logan said he was going in 100%, he went in 100%. Picking you up at 8 o'clock, taking you up like, well, I don't have any of my bags. Baby, you stay every Friday. You need to start remembering your bag, and like forcing her to stay with him and do things and go meet his parents. Like, he was all in, and it was comical and it was a good time, but it wasn't forced where it was uncomfortable, because she was never in any danger of doing anything that she didn't want to do. He never pressured her to do anything sexual. It was just making that image look legit, putting it on Instagram, coming out to the public, and he's famous. So paparazzi everywhere. It was a great time. I had a good time with this story. Loved it. However, I did not like the third act breakup because I thought it just kind of diminished Logan's character. He went all in the fake dating, and he went all in the fake breakup, and it made him look like the guy everyone assumed that he was. And I didn't like him at that point. I'm like, really? You could have segued that a whole different way, or you just could have opened up your damn mouth and told her that, hey, I don't want to stop seeing you. I'm having a good time. She could also said the same thing. So I wasn't a fan of the third act breakup. And the only other thing I had wrong with this is I wanted it longer. This was more of a novella length style book, and I wanted it longer. I would have enjoyed more of those fake dating scenario instances with them. I thought they were fun, and I thought they were cute, and I really, really enjoyed them. However, I only gave this a 2.5 on the chili pepper scale, on the spice rating scale. It did have unique foreplay to the big act. They had this really sweet pillow fight, and it was really cute between them. And I really, really enjoyed it. I thought it was unique, and it was just a fun time. It reminded me of the fun, sexy times that you have with people you care about, where it's not super serious. It's not super like, ooh, look at me. It's just like, you're doing something silly and it turns into it. And I love that. I love it when it's so easy and it's casual and it's freeing. I love it. And the constant flirtation was great in this book. The next book I have to talk about is Getting School by Emma Chase. And this is my next 5-star book of the month. I fucking love this. This was fantastic. This is the first installment in the Getting Some series, and it was an audiobook by Zachary Weber and Andy Arndt. And if you are not familiar with Zachary Weber is the same man who voiced Father Tyler Bell. So, yeah, he just uses a different name in the audio recording. I think he uses Jason Alexander. I want to say it's that. But it's the same guy. And it was awesome. Because he didn't use Father Tyler Bell's voice, but the tone and like the style of his delivery was kind of the same. So it was really cool. But I got to see Garrett, and I love the character of Garrett, who we follow. This is Garrett and Callie's story. This is also a football romance with a second chance romance involved. And we see really good displays of high school life. And there is a death in a family member for triggers. Garrett and Callie are former high school sweethearts. They had a mutual breakup when Callie went to school in California and he stayed in New Jersey on the East Coast. And Callie has to come back home to help take care of her parents who were in a car accident. And to help pay the bills in California, she takes a substitute teaching job at the high school that Garrett is currently teaching high school history and is the head football coach. So they are back in the same area where their first romance began, and it starts to bloom. All the old feelings are coming back, all the old scenarios, and it's so sweet. It's so adorable. I fucking love this. It was great. What worked? The audiobook for one, fantastic. Loved it. Zachary Weber's voice is fucking stellar. Hands down, one of my favorites. There was a lot of pop culture references in this book that were referencing to like my era, because Garrett and Callie are my age. And so that was a great time for me. I just adored that. I was laughing my ass off at some of these references. I was like, oh my God, I remember this, like, We Didn't Start the Fire, Billy Joel's We Didn't Start the Fire was one big references. I'm like, oh my God, I love that song. As a history major, it's like one of my favorite songs. So yeah, it was great. I loved it. Garrett's character, fucking loved him. He was just enough perfect and just enough fucked up to make me happy. Like, he didn't really have any major drama problems, but I just loved him. I loved him because he would still fuck up and he owned it. And I was like, oh, I love it. I love it. This book does a really good job of depicting the ups and downs in life, from high school compared to adult, and you get to see it. So you get to see Callie and Garrett see their ups and downs through the eyes of the high school students they're teaching. And then you also get to see what their original ups and downs look like. And then of course you have the adult ups and downs. So it was really nice to see that juxtaposition and the comparison. It's just really cool to do. And I thought it was done really, really well. And it was a really fun concept. And this book just gave that feeling of that anything's possible, that true love will always find a way. And just, I love this. This was so much fun. The only thing I really didn't have I had a problem with on this book was, I believe when you are broken up with someone and you get back together with them, what they do while you two were broken up is none of your damn business to be upset about. Is it your business to know because you are sleeping with this person? Yes. But for you to formulate an opinion on, for you to be pissed off about, for you to be jealous about, no, you don't get a say in that, especially when the breakup was mutual. And Callie does that, and that just bothers me in real life, and it bothers me in books too. I'm just like, you were broken up for like 9+ years. You don't get to say shit. And it's not even like you were in the same town. You were on the other side of the country. No, you don't get to say anything. So that kind of bothered me, but it was something minor. But other than that, I had no issues with this book. I thought this book was fantastic. It did get a 3 chili pepper on the spice rating. I love the humorous flirtation in this book. The romantic banter was excellent back and forth. It had that innuendo going back and forth, and they had the sneaking into the janitor's closet to make out like they're teenagers again. Oh, it was just fucking great. I loved it. And there were graphic penetration scenes described, and there was one graphic oral scene described from Garrett's perspective. So that was really nice hearing Zachary over in my head talking about that. That was fucking fantastic, and I loved it. I needed a minute after that scene too. Yep, sure did. It was a good time. The next book I have to talk about is this guy. This is Radiance by Grace Draven. This was my Red Witch and Bitchin' Book Club book of the month, and this is the first installment in the Wraith King series. It is a fantasy romance, wraith romance, arranged marriage, friends to lovers, and there is examples of infanticide in it. We follow Brishan and Ildiko. Brishan is the second-born prince of the Kai, and Ildiko is the niece of the king. So neither member is important into the line of succession for the monarchies, but they are important in the fact that they can wield marriages and gather and gain treaties, which is essentially what this marriage was to formulate a treaty for trade between these two people. Except the Kais, as you can see, are wraiths. So they have these really sharp, nasty claws, and they've got like daggers for teeth, and they're grayish blue, and they got these yellowy eyes. So to us as humans, they look fucking creepy as hell. But to a wraith, we as humans look disgusting and gross. Which is the premise of this book, is that they're arranged marriage, and their two peoples literally hate the way the other people look. But Ildiko and Grecian, which I love, they meet before the marriage, and they joke with each other, but they don't know who each other are. And Ildiko finally looks at Grecian and says, "You don't really find me attractive, do you?" And he's like, No, I don't. I think you look like an old hag." And she's like, "Well, if I woke up next to you, I'm pretty sure I bash your face in with a skull. Bash your skull in." And that one, okay, yes, they were hurtful things, but they were so brutally honest with each other that they started to form this mutual understanding, trust, bond, friendship based off of truth, based off of understanding, based off of something other than the other's physical appearance. And when they find out that they're each other's betrothed, oh my God, their whole marriage was just an understanding that we're just going to be friends, and we're going to learn about each other's heritages and cultures, and we're not going to worry about what's on the outside. We're going to worry about the inside. And I just fucking love that this whole romance was based off this concept that what's on the inside is more important than what's on the outside. And that was one of the main things that worked in this book, was that looks are not important. It's what's on the inside that matters. And it was just done so well. The friendship to love was seamless. I couldn't tell you when it turned to love, but I know when it was. But I couldn't tell you when it turned. It was so natural. It was so seamless. And it was perfect. I loved it. Loved it. The only thing that didn't work about this book with me is that this has an HEA, but it also has a cliffhanger. But the cliffhanger is in the epilogue. So if you don't read the epilogue, the whole big fantasy plot point that kind of continues the series along, you miss. I think it should have been brought further into the story, and I wouldn't have had an issue with it. Spice rating, I gave a 2.5 chili peppers. This is a very slow burn, but when it happens, you have all those feelings, all those oh, it's great. It was fucking fantastic. I loved it. And they brought in interesting sexual concerns because of the physical traits of Brishan. He couldn't do things normally because of like his claws and his teeth. So it was really cool to see how creative Idiko had to get to make him feel that she still wanted him and desired him, even though it was not normal and usual for her to do the things that she was doing. So I really liked how creative she got with it. The next book I read was Dragon's Lair by Chantal Fernando. And it looks like this. I gave this 2 stars. This is the first installment to the Wind Dragons MC series. It's an MC romance. There is minimal derogatory language towards females from the hero towards the heroine. We have an alpha male, gang violence and murder, forced proximity, and there is a pregnancy trope. Faye is the good girl law student who finds her boyfriend of like 9-10 years cheating on her. So she decides to go get some revenge sex, and she comes across Dex, who is the vice president of the local MC known as the Wind Dragons MC. And she has revenge sex. And oh, by the way, did I mention that Dex is her childhood crush and Eric's older brother? Yeah. That's a thing. That happens. That one night stand happened, except in that one night stand, Faye gets pregnant. Dex finds out and finds her after 4 months and brings her to the compound. And this is where this forced proximity romance kind of starts. What worked in this was the original storyline. Good girl falls for bad boy. Good girl finds bad boy because good girl's good boy fucked her over. So I really liked the original storyline to it. I thought it was good, but it could have been put anywhere in any type of trope and it would have worked. So it didn't have to be a motorcycle gang for that scenario to work. Faye's character also worked really well. She was a Spitfire from the beginning to the end. The derogatory language I mentioned, she doesn't take it. When he talks to her like that, she's like, you can go fuck yourself. You are never speak to me like that again. You speak to me like that again, and I will fucking leave. I don't care, pregnant or not, I'm out. You do not speak to me like that. And so I really enjoyed that she didn't turn this meek, mild character. She stayed this headstrong, quick-witted, Spitfire of a girl. I really like that she stayed that character the entire way through. And also when Eric cheated on her, she fucking walked out. She didn't give him a second chance. She didn't give him a chance to explain. She walked in on him banging another chick and said, fuck you, I'm out. And she never went back. And I fucking love that. I thought that was great. I liked Faye's character a lot. What I didn't like about this book was it was so close to Sons of Anarchy. I mean, the references, they reference Sons of Anarchy, but there are so many similarities. Dex is the vice president. Jax was the vice president. Faye is a lawyer. Tara was a doctor. We have an Irishman in the MC who has scars on his face. We have a sexual deviant who will literally fuck anything but loves animals. Like, there were so many similarities to the Sons of Anarchy that I felt like I was listening to a Sons of Anarchy episode. And I just was like, Sons of Anarchy is not the end all of MC clubs. Like, you can have other storylines and other characteristics. I don't want to say it was directly ripped off, but you could definitely see the homage paid to it. And there was a lot of homage paid to it. So that kind of bothered me. And the last thing that bothered me was that Faye, when Dex finds her, she's 4 months pregnant. She's gotten kicked out of her house by her parents, and Dex finds her. And she had no intention of telling him. And that bothered me. I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that at all. I think she should have told him and then let him make his decision on what he wanted to do, because she made her decision. She was planning on keeping it. Let him decide if he wanted to stay with her or not. But she wasn't even going to give him that option. He found out by mistake and sought her out and brought her back. So kudos for him for trying to do the right thing. Faye, you should have had more trust in people, and you should have done the right thing by telling him. So that bothered me. I didn't agree with that. I did give this a 3 chili peppers on the spice scale. There was graphic language, and I did get to see pregnancy sex for the first time in a book. So it was really interesting how an author wrote that there had to be different positions, because, you know, pregnant women want to have sex too. They need 11s too. So there you go. I really enjoyed that about that. And the last book I read for this month was this guy, A Court of Wings and Ruin by Sarah J. Maas. This was 5 stars. I'm not surprised it was 5 stars. It's the 3rd installment of the Court of Thorn and Roses series. I read it for this SJM read along. I fucking love this. I cried. I bawled. All the emotions. I will link the announcement video for this readathon down below. I also did a full reading vlog for this, and I will link it down below. And I'm also part of the live show for this. So when that gets uploaded, I will come back and link it back up. This thing was amazing. The only thing I have to say about this book is I'm not ready to say goodbye. I'm not ready to say goodbye to these characters. And there's so much emotions running through me with this book. I love this. This book, Court of Mist and Fury, solidified Sarah J. Maas as one of my favorite authors. This book pushed her to being #1. I fucking love this. I cannot speak highly about this. The battles are happening. Pieces are moving. We're seeing all of our old characters. They're all giving their best. And Sarah J. Maas did not do what she normally does. And she rocked her men and she rocked her women, and she rocked them in a way I was not expecting, and I was not ready, and I was bawling my eyes out most of this fucking book, and I was just, oh my God, I loved it. I love this so much. This was great. This was fantastic. This was the best way to end this month. It was fantastic. But yeah, go check out my vlog. Go check it out. You'll see the gambit of emotions. But that is everything I read this month, guys. And let's get drawing, because this thing is hella long already, so let's get to drawing. All right, so for my TBR jar, read a book that has green on the cover. And for my husband's jar, because I didn't complete my TBR, I never complete my TBR, but, you know, whatever. All right. Read a horror novel. How fortuitous that I have to read a horror novel in Halloween month. Ha! That's fucking awesome. Okay. All right, guys. That's all I've got for you guys today. I hope you enjoyed this, and I will see you guys all soon with another video. Bye.